feel like you're just going through the motions in life? This podcast is for you. A while back, I felt just like you. It wasn't until I heard that whisper in the wind, Nadine, learn to podcast. Now I'm on a journey of discovery, interviewing others who have also leaped into the unknown. I'm Nadine, creator of the Over 50 You Are Not Done Yet show, a podcast about personal awakenings, spiritual connections, and stories of joy. Shall we begin? One of the last things my father said to me before he passed away was, Nadine, you're not dreaming big enough. Dream bigger. No, bigger. Hi, my name is Nadine, the host of the Over 50 You Are Not Done Yet show. I thought I would do something a little different this episode, and that is to just sit down and talk to you about who I am. So grab some coffee, tea, hop on your stationary bicycle, and let's have some fun. Who am I? I'm spirit first, a seeker, an inspirer, an artist, a TV news editor, an avid traveler, and now a new podcaster. I'm originally from Philly, but raised in Norfolk, Virginia. So I don't know if you can tell or hear somewhat of an accent. I don't know. I think I've lost it along the way. I don't know if I've always seen myself as an artist. I love to create things with my hands. I've gravitated towards all kinds of things like learning how to play new instruments. Photography is one of my passions. Poetry, I love poetry. And of course, I love editing stories because I do it all the time. It is something I truly do enjoy, and that's telling other people's stories. So I guess I am an artist. You're listening to the Over 50 You Are Not Done Yet show. I'm Nadine O, and this is my story. I really realized that there was this artist inside of me when I was 5. My father, he was an artist, a photographer for the Navy, and then he did it on his own. And actually, I come from a whole line of photographers. My grandfather as well had his own studio. I remember being really young, coming downstairs into the basement, and my father had this mold of clay of the head of a person, and I imagine he was done with his creation, and it was at that time he let me get my hands all in the clay, and I just had so much fun. There was just this feeling that came over me that was in my life. I have probably felt that only 2 other times, and it was truly a moment of grace. I felt like God was smiling. So you're probably wondering, how did I get into TV news? Well, first of all, I'm a late bloomer. I actually went back to school, and actually, I changed my major. I started off as a musician. I used to play upright string bass. Really, I used to play upright string bass in a symphony orchestra. I loved it. It's such a cool instrument, and at that time there weren't many black female upright string bass or fiddle, if you want to call it bass fiddle, musicians that I could look up to or that I knew. It was a lot of fun, and then I thought I would become a music teacher, but I felt rather quickly after taking some courses that I really didn't have the patience for listening to kids play out of tune. But that's just me. I don't know. I continued to take courses part-time. I worked and found a job in University City at the International House, and I started meeting people from all over the world. And one friend of mine that was half Kenyan, she actually gifted me a book, and it was Introduction to Film and Video. And I started reading it, and there was one part where I just gravitated towards, and that was the art of editing. And then I thought, okay, this looks fun. I decided to go back to school. I graduated with a radio, television, and film degree in communications. And I've been working in TV or TV news for over 25 years. I've done many things. I've worked out in the field, in the news van, setting up live shots for reporters, editing their stories. I have actually gone out as a photographer for them. One of the other things that was pretty exciting, I was a photographer in the chopper. I actually did that pretty much in the very beginning of the time that they hired me full time. And I remember they asked me, the manager at the time said they were going to hire me full time, and they really liked my work. And while we're here, would you be interested in flying in the chopper? And I was like, sure. And after the meeting, I left and went out and said, oh, God, help me with my fear of flying. But you know what? That's the best thing, is to leap, even though you're afraid. And that was one of the biggest lessons that I learned. It required a lot of focus, getting used to looking down, but it was a lot of fun. And there were some pretty amazing things, pretty unforgettable moments from doing that, as well as some of the other stories that I've covered. So how about I tell you my most memorable experience? And it is kind of glamorous, I guess you would say that, because I happened to be in the chopper at the time. My oldest brother, passed away, and I had come back to work, and I was feeling pretty numb. I had been in constant conversation with God, asking God, why did he take my brother, and why didn't he take me? Because, there was so much that I had done, and so much life that was still left for him to do. I had an assignment, and that was to fly in the chopper and photograph several accidents that had occurred during a storm. And as we're flying, I'm up in the sky, looking around, and there's clouds, and I'm just thinking, why him, why not me? Why him, why not me? Why him, why not me? Then we were flying back after covering one scene. The pilot turns and he says, do you see what I see? And I said, what? He says, look there. And I'm looking on the windshield, and there's like this, it looks like a reflection of colors. And he says, no, but look over there. It's like, so I look over there, and he's like, wow. And then so he starts shifting the direction of the chopper, right, then left, then right, then left. And he was like, this is weird. It's not moving. And it's a rainbow. And we're looking at it, and it's huge. And then we were just standing there. It was like, it's like I'm on some serious drugs. Mind you, drugs are bad. And I was like, no, it's crazy. So we're looking at it, and then there's another one on top of it, a double rainbow. Of course, You know, you can't look at a rainbow and not, photograph it. So obviously I photographed it. And then we finished our work, and then we flew back to the heliport, and we landed the chopper, or the pilot landed the chopper. I just watched him. But the whole time, the rainbow is right in front of us. I don't know how that could have happened, but I was just like, wow. And then we just sat there dumbfounded. And it felt like, wow, it felt like 10 minutes went by, but maybe it was only a couple of minutes. And it was there right in front of us. Now, mind you, the heliport, it is across from the Camden Aquarium, adjacent and across. So the rainbow is like over Camden. And we sat there, we looked at it until it disappeared. That was one of the days that I would never forget. Partly because I felt as though that was a gift. If you're a believer in God, a sign from the heavens. And if you are just spiritual and believe, that it was just a sign from the universe, however you would take it. But it was, wow, I guess there's still something I'm supposed to be doing. Another time I would say I will never forget, 9/11. I woke up, turned on the TV. I don't know. I just couldn't believe what I was seeing. The first plane going into the tower, into the Trade Center, and then the second one. I remember being numb, and I remember grabbing my stuff whenever there's anything really, really big that happens in news. It's a given. You show up to work. It's going to be a long day. And that's what I did. Packed my lunch, grabbed some things, went into work, and started editing. The reason why it's etched in my mind is because as an editor, you have to go through all the video to find the images to help tell the story that the writer or the producer writes. I don't think there is a piece of video from 9/11 that I have not seen over and over and over again. I believe everyone has a few stories to tell, and sometimes we just don't take enough time to actually listen and ask the question. So I would say wanting to tell more of their stories was probably the one ache that I have from being a TV news editor, not being able to share more. Why did I decide to make a podcast? Part of it is because I wanted to share more of other people's stories. Also, I just want to inspire people. As an artist, you look at things, you see the way in which light hits whatever. If you're taking a picture and it's of a person sitting on a park bench, and the way the light hits them, the leaves create this little shimmer, and then you have your video camera, you're capturing this moment. I think the same thing happens when you talk to people. You see a spark, you see something that maybe they don't see, or maybe they need to be reminded. And if I were to get spiritual and say, yeah, part of it is me, the person, the artist who sees it, and then other parts I would say is I'm here at this moment in time, and this person is feeling this way at this time, and I'm an instrument in the grand scheme of things in the universe. Like what we're doing here? Rate us on iTunes, and remember to subscribe and stay up to date on our show. coworkers would often talk about all the things she wanted to do when she retired. Only a few more years, and then I'm out of here, and I'm going to retire, and I'm going to go do this. And 1 minute she was here, and 1 minute she was gone. You never know if you're going to wake up the next day. Am I going to just wait until I retire? Or am I going to start doing? Ask the universe, ask God, what can I do? What can I do? What can I do? And I often say it's like hearing a whisper in the wind. Have you thought of podcasting? That could be kind of cool. You know? So that's what I did. I thought, I did some research and I thought, well, it's kind of like video editing. Well, let me see if I can do it. And so I set out to learn the podcasting. I put the word out. I got a couple of names and I went out and I did a couple of interviews and I took and made an open and I got some music and just put the interview up in the cloud. The first time I put it up, it was awful. I mean, many people appreciated it. The many people who listened to it, which was not that many people. I love my friends. I love my family. I had my podcast critiqued, and there were a number of criticisms. And I decided to revamp it, which is the new release, and tweak the name. So it went from the You Are Not Done Yet podcast to the Over 50 You Are Not Done Yet podcast. And I've been having fun with it. Changed it up a little bit, added some music. I just wanted it to have a feel like we were having a conversation and you're there with us. And I hope to continue to do it. It is a lot of work, but I really, really enjoy it. And this is a pretty cool quote, and I believe it to be true, by Henry David Thoreau. Not until we are lost do we begin to understand ourselves. And I was thinking about that. I was lost for a bit, lost in grief and wondering, what is it that I'm supposed to be doing? And it wasn't until that despair that I really started to hear myself and see myself, not through the eyes of other people. And I think that happens sometimes, that we allow others to say who we are and what we should be doing, instead of listening to what's inside. At least that's what I did. I let other people guide my direction. There was a part in 2019 early part of 2019, where I felt as though if I'm really going to do this, I'm really going to put this podcast together, I have to be ready to share more of myself. Oh my God, how am I going to do that? Let me call my friend Carol. So I called my friend Carol and I said, I see you're doing this wonderful stuff with, what do you call healing art? Do you think you can do that healing art thing with me? And she said, sure. Can you commit yourself to 12 weeks? And I